I'm a certified information systems security professional with a master's degree in cybersecurity. This is my actual security setup. Not what I'd recommend to everyone, but what I personally use every day. Some of these choices might surprise you, and a few go against what you'll hear from other security channels. Let me show you what I actually do, and more importantly, why. Before we get into the setup, quick context. I hold a CISSP certification, some people call it a CISSP, and a certified ethical hacker credential. I've spent years working in cybersecurity. And here's the thing. When you actually understand how security works at a technical level, your choices look different than what gets repeated in generic security advice. I'm not trying to sell you anything here. This is just what I've landed on after years of evaluating threats, understanding my actual risk profile, and caring more about practical security than security theater. Let's start with the controversial stuff. First, I use Gmail for my primary email, not ProtonMail, not Tutor, regular Gmail. Now I do have a ProtonMail account, but I only use it for truly sensitive communication, which honestly is rare. Here's why. For most people, including me, email security isn't about encryption at rest, it's about account security and phishing protection, and Gmail actually excels at both of those. Gmail's spam filtering is exceptional. Their phishing detection catches things that smaller providers miss, and Google's security infrastructure, while not perfect, is significantly more robust than most alternatives. The reality is, if someone is sophisticated enough to intercept and decrypt my email in transit, I have much bigger problems. My actual threat model doesn't include nation-state adversaries reading my utility bills. If I were handling truly sensitive information, whistleblowing, journalism, activism, then yes, I'd use ProtonMail exclusively. But for day-to-day life, Gmail's security features outweigh the privacy trade-offs for my specific situation. Second controversial choice, I only use Windows Defender. No Norton, no McAfee, no Kaspersky. And this one actually isn't controversial among security professionals. It's only controversial to regular users who've been sold on third-party antivirus for decades. Windows Defender has become genuinely good. Independent testing consistently ranks it alongside or above paid alternatives. It's deeply ingrained with the OS. It doesn't slow down your system like bloated third-party solutions, and crucially, it doesn't introduce new attack surface. Every piece of software you install is a potential vulnerability. Third-party antivirus software runs with extremely high privileges, which makes it an attractive target for attackers. We've seen vulnerabilities in major antivirus products that actually make systems less secure. Windows Defender is sufficient for my needs because I practice good security hygiene. I don't click suspicious links, I keep my system updated, and I use a password manager. The antivirus is my last line of defense, not my first. Third, I use NordVPN, but only occasionally. I turn it on when I'm on public Wi-Fi, coffee shops, airports, hotels, and I use it when I need to bypass geolocation restrictions for legitimate purposes. But I don't run a VPN 24/7 on my home network, and that's intentional. Here's what VPNs actually do. They encrypt your traffic between your device and the VPN server. That's useful on untrusted networks. But on my home network, my traffic is already encrypted. HTTPS handles that for the vast majority of websites. What a VPN does is shift trust from your ISP to your VPN provider, and that's not always an improvement. I trust my ISP about as much as I trust NordVPN, which is to say, not completely, but enough for everyday use. VPNs are also slower. They add latency. For most of my browsing and work, that's an unnecessary trade-off. So I use VPN as a tool for specific situations, not as a blanket solution. Now, let's get into what I do use for everything else. I use Brave as my primary browser. Here's why. Brave blocks ads and trackers by default. It's built on Chromium, so it's compatible with everything, but it strips out Google's tracking. I know Firefox with extensions can achieve similar results, but Brave does it out the box, which means I don't have to manage a dozen extensions or worry about one of them becoming a privacy risk itself. Brave also has built-in HTTPS upgrading, fingerprinting protection, and script blocking. And their business model, optional ads where you get paid in crypto, is at least more transparent than selling your data. Is it perfect? No. but it's a strong default that doesn't require constant tweaking. A few settings I've configured. Shields set to aggressive. All trackers and ads blocked. Fingerprinting protection strict. Auto redirect AMP pages enabled. Auto redirect tracking URLs enabled. This is non-negotiable. I use Bitwarden for every single password except one, my Bitwarden master password. Every account has a unique, randomly generated password. Most are 20+ characters. I don't know what any of them are, and that's the point. Why Bitwarden specifically? It's open source, which means the code can be audited. It uses end-to-end encryption, and the free version has every feature most people need. I also like that it's not owned by a conglomerate. 1Password is great, but they've taken venture capital funding. Bitwarden is leaner and more privacy-focused. My Bitwarden setup. Master password is a 6-word passphrase. Completely random words, not from any song or phrase. 2-factor authentication enabled using an authenticator app. I have backup codes stored in a physical safe. Browser extension for autofill. Emergency access setup for a trusted family member. One critical thing. I do not use Bitwarden password generator default of 14 characters. I use 20 to 25 characters for everything. There's no usability downside. Bitwarden autofills it, and it dramatically increases security. 2-factor authentication. I have 2-factor authentication enabled on every account that supports it, and I use authenticator apps, specifically Google Authenticator, and Authy as a backup. I avoid SMS-based 2-factor authentication when possible because SIM swapping is a real attack vector. But if SMS is the only option, I still use it. It's better than no 2-factor at all. For critical accounts, email, password manager, financial, I have backup codes saved in Bitwarden itself, encrypted, and I have a second set printed out and stored physically. For any communication that needs privacy, I use Signal. Signal is end-to-end encrypted by default. It's been audited extensively, and it collects almost no metadata. They can't hand over what they don't have. Honestly, I wish everyone I communicate with used Signal. It has all the features I need and isn't snooping on me. But the reality is not everyone I want to communicate with uses it yet. So I use it where I can. For sensitive conversations, for anyone willing to install it, and as my default recommendation when people ask what messaging app to use. Settings I've configured. Disappearing messages enabled for sensitive conversations. Screen security enabled, prevents screenshots. Registration lock enabled. Sealed sender enabled. I mentioned I use Gmail, but I use it strategically. I have 3 email tiers. First, primary Gmail. For important accounts, bills, and services that actually need my attention. This is my real email for things that matter. Second, Gmail aliases. Gmail has a built-in feature where you can add a plus sign to your email. So if my email is sarah@gmail.com, I can give out Sarah Plus Shopping at gmail.com or Sarah Plus Newsletters at gmail.com. It all comes to the same inbox, but I can filter automatically, and if I start getting spam, I can have a pretty good idea of who sold my email. Third, ProtonMail, for truly sensitive communication. I rarely use it, but it's there when I need end-to-end encryption for specific contacts. This separation means if one account is compromised, or if I need to track where spam is coming from, I have visibility and control. Let me quickly cover things I don't use that people might expect. Hardware security keys, like YubiKey. I don't use them, not because they're bad, they're excellent, but for my threat model, authenticator apps provide sufficient security. Hardware keys are ideal if you're a high-value target, journalists, activists, executives. For most people, the added friction isn't worth the marginal security improvement. If my threat model changes, I'll add them. For now, they're overkill. Tor browser for daily use. Brave actually has Tor built in. I can open a private window with Tor if I need it, but I don't use it for regular browsing. Tor is slow. It breaks many websites, and for most threats I actually face, phishing, credential stuffing, data breaches, Tor provides no additional protection. Tor is a tool for anonymity, not security. Those are related but different goals. Privacy-focused operating systems, like Tails or Cubes. I use Windows 11 with standard hardening. Again, this comes down to threat modeling. Specialized OSs like Tails or Cubes are powerful tools for high-risk scenarios, but they come with significant usability costs. For my day-to-day work, a properly configured Windows installation with good security practices is sufficient. Encrypted DNS. I don't currently use DNS over HTTPS or DNS over TLS. Not because they're bad, they're good privacy tools. But my ISP can still see what websites I visit based on IP addresses and SNI and TLS handshakes. Encrypted DNS provides minimal additional privacy in my situation. If I lived in a country with aggressive internet censorship, I'd configure it immediately. But for my current situation, it is a low priority optimization. Here's what I'm actually protecting against. 1. Credential stuffing. Attackers using leaked passwords from breaches to access my accounts. Best defense? Unique passwords everywhere via Bitwarden. Number 2. Phishing. Fake websites or emails trying to steal credentials. Best defense? Two-factor authentication. Password manager autofill. It won't fill on fake sites. And Gmail's filtering. 3. Data breaches. Companies getting hacked and exposing my information. Defense? Unique passwords mean one breach doesn't cascade. 4. Malware. Accidentally downloading malicious software. Defense? Windows Defender. Good habits. Keeping software updated. Number 5. Public Wi-Fi attacks. Man-in-the-middle attacks on untrusted networks. Defense? VPN when on public networks. HTTPS everywhere. What I'm not protecting against. Nation-state actors. Sophisticated targeted attacks. And physical device seizure and forensic analysis. If those were in my threat model, my setup would look completely different. The common thread here is threat modeling. I've identified the actual risks I face, and I've implemented controls that address those risks without adding unnecessary complexity. Security is always a trade-off with convenience. The goal isn't perfect security. That doesn't exist. The goal is appropriate security for your actual situation. Every tool I use serves a specific purpose. Every tool I don't use represents a deliberate decision that the risk doesn't justify the cost. This setup works for me because I understand what I'm protecting and what I'm protecting against. Your setup will look different than mine, and it should. Start by asking, what am I actually trying to protect? From whom? What are the realistic threats I face? Then build your security around those answers. But if you take nothing else from this video, use a password manager. Enable two-factor authentication everywhere. Keep your software updated. Those 3 things will protect you from 95% of realistic threats. Everything else is optimization. This is what a certified information systems security professional actually uses. Not what I'm told to use, not what gets the most clicks and reviews, what actually makes sense for my threat model and my life. In this channel, I break down cybersecurity and AI in simple, practical ways, without the hype, without the fear, just what actually works. In the next video, I'll explain why your passwords are not safe, even if you think you're doing everything right, and the simple steps you can take that will actually protect you.